And away we go. It's the DFS Early presented by Awesemo.com, brought to you in part by Yahoo Fantasy Sports. Thank you to them for sponsoring this podcast. Dan Strafford along with you on this Friday morning. The NFL draft on Thursday night. A little bit of confusion in the scheduling. I am here with you to get you started in your research for Friday's 15-game Major League Baseball slate. We have a number of aces on the mound, but a few of them coming back from injury. Want to touch on that first here as we kick off the pod. I'll go through the pitching slate. There's a lot to dive into here in the matchups, and then talk about some of the top pitchers to stack against, or at least to target as this slate unfolds. Do my best here to break it all down. Don't forget you have the MLB Strategy Show each and every day. You get the deep dive written by Luffy on Friday, and then you get the deeper dive on Friday evening, along with Live Before Lock. They'll have all the content you really need to get yourself ready on any given slate. But we're at a point in the season where sample sizes are growing. They may not be big enough to make determinations off of, but will at least be fun conjecture here on this podcast, figure out exactly where we are focusing our time and our efforts throughout this slate. And as we try to figure it all out, we do so from the happy confines of my downstairs bathroom. The final time you should see that here on the daily podcast, the DFS Early Bird, as the basement is almost finished. I know, praise whatever God you believe in, but we're almost there, and should be all done and movable by tomorrow, which is Friday, and then into Saturday. So it's been a pleasure, and I hope you've enjoyed all of the kids' artwork. You know, if I duck out of the way, maybe in comment section over there on YouTube, you can pick your favorite one. Tell me which one it is. There's more around the corner. Camera won't reach there, but nonetheless, don't forget to like, subscribe, do all those things that you do on YouTube. Same over there on iTunes as well. Let's dive in where we have Scherzer, DeGrom, both coming back from injury. You have Scherzer dealing with the rib issue. He also dealt with a issue earlier in the season, I believe from an ankle, but Scherzer dealt with a rib injury here, trying to get out of the way of a foul ball in the dugout. He threw a 20-pitch bullpen session Tuesday, threw another 20-pitch session on Wednesday, and everything went well enough that he is in line to start here against the San Diego Padres on Friday. This is a game that Scherzer, obviously top talent, now hasn't really seen a great start to the year from a stat perspective. Has a ton of strikeouts, so that is in line with what we've seen, but has an ERA at 4.45, not necessarily a very Scherzian on the year. 44 Ks to 5 walks in just 32.1 innings pitched. That'll get it done, but he has been giving up runs and has given up 3 home runs on the year thus far. He has a matchup with the San Diego Padres, and one here that, let's pull up. Do I have that open yet? Yes, I do. Padres and Nationals, minus 185 in favor of the Nationals. 7 over under. Matt Strahm on the other side of this contest for the Padres. Scherzer checks in at 10-4, so not a number that's going to blow you away, but on a 15-game slate with some low-end talent. When you look at Walden and Miller and Cobb, Senzatella in Atlanta, Jose Urena is on this slate. And then you can talk about the likes of a Martin Perez pitching against Baltimore in Minnesota. And then you have some other pieces as we go through. Also interesting to see that Seattle going with a piggyback here with Kikuchi and Sheffield. Justice Sheffield getting the call up, and he will be the long reliever here as they try to really manage Kikuchi's innings. But we'll get to that momentarily. Back to Scherzer. You have a matchup with the aforementioned San Diego Padres. Let's pull up those stats here. Thought I had them open. Fangraphs crashed right before I went to start recording. So there we go. A little bit of a cluster here to begin, but we will make this work. So on the year, the San Diego Padres are sporting a, let's see where the Padres stack up, a 303. No, make that a 294 team WOBA. That is against both-handed pitchers. Taking a quick look at righties only active roster for the San Diego Padres and clicking here. Apparently 2019's not getting any stats. Well, this should be a fun podcast. FanGraphs not coming through for me here. Let's see what 2018 active roster for the Padres gave us for right-handed pitchers. Now, again, this is the active roster right now, 2018 stats for the Padres. They sit middle, 322 overall, 172 ISO, a K percentage of 20.8%. 8.1% walk percentage. So not an elite matchup here for Max Scherzer, one that you'd have to wonder what you're going to get with that rib injury. Jacob deGrom in a similar spot in so much that you have to wonder exactly what you're going to get from deGrom. This is a guy who had this elbow scare. Obviously one of the elite talents in baseball, somebody who can absolutely blow away the competition without any issue. And here he's going to have a matchup with the Milwaukee Brewers, who have had a very, very solid start to the year. Let's see if we can pull up the stats I'm looking for over on FanGraphs versus right-handers active roster. There we go. Now we're starting to get there. Now we're starting to get some stats. 2019. All right, good. So on the year, the Brewers 220 ISO against right-handed pitchers, 327 WOBA, a WRC plus of 101, 26.3% K percentage is higher on there. You have, let's see who we have sporting a 20% or higher. Moustakas, Arcia, Yasmani Grandal, Ryan Braun is at 30.6%. Ben Gamel, Travis Shaw is at 35.6% in 73 plate appearances. Eric Thames up over 41%. He has a 41% strikeout percentage to start the year. This is, again, just 2019 stats, so a smaller sample size. So maybe a slightly K upside potential here for deGrom. But this is a game that has a 7.5 over-under, Mets minus 190, Chase Anderson on the other side. You have upside clearly with deGrom. But with this elbow issue, it was said that he had a barking in the elbow, but he was also sick, and his whole body was sore. So he came in to pitch and throw his bullpen, and he dealt with this elbow and said, it doesn't feel right. So they finally sent him for an MRI, came back clean. So at 10 and 10-4, deGrom and Scherzer perfectly reasonable for aces. The upside's there. The strikeout should be there. But these aren't plus matchups in my mind. Yes, the run total is down, but I'd much rather go with James Paxton at 9,600. Now, Paxton gets the amazing park shift to San Francisco. Now, this can be maybe a little misleading at times, but Oracle Park, formerly AT&T Park, is the best pitchers park in all of Major League Baseball. And I want to try to see if I can find lefties here, but on the year, the San Francisco Giants, not a team that in the past has struck out a ton against left-handers, are 14th overall, which is a pretty high total here, 25.2%. This is saying non-active roster. Let's pull up the active roster, make sure we're comparing apples to apples, as it were. And the active roster says 23.6. So still a decent percentage there. ISO of 135, so not a ton of power, and a WOBA of 278. So James Paxton in this spot gets the nice park shift at 9,600. He has come on back-to-back 12K, one walk outings. He has a matchup with the San Francisco Giants in Oracle. Now, over on FanDuel, he's 11 flat. He's more expensive than Jacob deGrom. I still like him over there. James Paxton, first glance, far and away the expensive pitcher that I want to own in this slate. I just think that the upside is definitely there. We do have Robbie Ray against the Chicago Cubs. This is another lineup that in the past has not struck out a ton. Same this year, 22.2% against lefties. on the season, 11.3 walk percentage, a WOBA of 319, ISO of 192. We know that there are bats in this lineup that can do a lot of damage. We also know that Robbie Ray can at times give up a ton of walks. You see that their walk percentage against lefties is north of 10%, always where you want to see it for a team that's going to draw the walks. So I'll stay away from Robbie Ray. Corey Kluber's been, well, he's been enigmatic. Last time out against Atlanta, at least, really limited the walks, only 2, but still gave up 2 home runs. He's a 5.89 ERA, 4 home runs given up on the year, a 1.62 whip. And he's gone from dud to decent game, and now has a matchup in Houston. So no, I can't do it. I can't do it against an offense like the Houston Astros. It's just too deep. There's too much here to do damage to someone like a Kluber if he's missing the zone. On the year, a 203 ISO against right-handed pitchers. They do have a 24.5% K percentage, but a 113 WRC. It's just not worth it for me. So right now, Paxton on FanDuel feels like my cash game option. Trying to look for another option on DraftKings for my SB2 as I wander through this slate. Chris Archer's been solid to start the year, but I don't want anything to do with him against the Dodgers here. This looks like a blow-up spot with a lineup for the Dodgers that has been fantastic against righties, obviously largely due to Cody Bellinger. But when you have Cody Bellinger and you have Corey Seager and you have even Jock Peterson against right-handed pitchers, I think his numbers are insane. Yeah, Jock Peterson on the year in 81 plate appearances against right-handed pitchers has a 14.8% K percentage, a 13.6 walk percentage, a 508 ISO, a WOBA of 483. Now, Bellinger's WOBA is 612, but these are insane numbers. You throw Max Muncy into the mix, Corey Seager, Alex Vertigo. This is a team I don't want anything to do with Chris Archer. I'll say Madison Bumgarner is at least intriguing. Do I think he has double-digit strikeout upside? Probably not. But as a lefty against this absolutely power-depleted New York Yankees lineup, looking at active rosters for the Yankees, they have a 29.5% K percentage against lefties. So we're talking about a team that's dealing with Gleyber Torres and Mike Tauchman and Gary Sanchez, DJ LeMahieu, Giovanni Urshela, Luke Voigt. This is a potential big upside spot for Bumgarner. I assume he'll carry some ownership. I assume. But Paxton, Bumgarner, so far 2 plays that I am comfortable with looking at these lineups. As we scroll through, try to find who would be next, who would be a mid-tier option, you have to take a look at Jared Eichhoff. Now, Eichhoff gets the matchup with the Marlins on Thursday night, if I am correct. I think the Marlins put up some runs. Let's see. Well, 3 runs. Starlin Castro hit a homer in the 10th, lifting the Miami Marlins over the Phillies. So Aaron Nola with a fine start. Not great, but fine. They went to extra innings, and Starlin Castro beat Hector Neris with a home run. But this still is a Miami team that is down near the bottom in every offensive category. You have an ISO of 115, WRC plus of 70, K percentage of, I had to double check this, 28.2% to an 8.3% walk ratio. On this season, let's pull up again our probable pitchers for tomorrow, and we'll sort this quickly. Thank you for bearing with me. So 2019 numbers, taking a quick look at who is our highest K-minus walk ratio pitchers on this slate. And all right, there we go. DeGrom, 31.5%. Paxton, 29.9%. Scherzer, Jared Eichhoff, 23.8%. K- walk ratio on the year. He has just that one start. He's been in 2 games, 10 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts. So not a ton of sample here for Jared Eichhoff. Last year in 2018, dealt with injuries. 2017, 8.30 K per 9. Not the biggest upside, but this matchup clearly will bring ownership. And Eichhoff's going to be probably a cash game option at $7,900. Miami's just that bad. They're just that bad. Now, the team that you may want to look at is, or the pitcher you may want to look at here is Max Fried. Max Fried against Colorado. Colorado on the road against the lefty seems like a spot that could have some big upside for Fried. Let's see if I can double sort here. Lefties. Well, let's just go away from home for the Colorado Rockies. On the year, 26.2% K percentage away from home against lefties on the year. Not as bad as I thought it'd be. So lefties, 25.1%, but decent ISO, decent WOBA. Fried's a guy who has the strikeout as a back pocket upside, not necessarily his typical go-to way of racking up DraftKings points. He's somebody who limits hits, limits walks, but can give you 6 to 8 strikeouts on the upside. I think his highest strikeout total on the year is 6 thus far. It's not somebody who's going to blow you away, but the talent is there. 1.39 ERA, 3-0. Not that matters. 1.04 WHIP, and on a site like DraftKings where you get hammered for some walks, Fried and Eichhoff in the mid-tier are names that at least will be part of my research a little bit further as we get into the day on Friday. Taking a look at Carlos Rodon as well. Now, this is a name we've talked about a bit on this podcast in the past. This is a talented guy, somebody that was drafted first round, came up pretty quickly for the White Sox, somebody that has the upside we're looking for on any given slate to give us. Are you really going to? Oh, come on. It's always fun when the accent gets in the way. So anybody who's searching on Brooks Baseball for Carlos Rodon, it's you got to get rid of the accent that DraftKings has on his name. On this season, 4-seam's been down in velocity. Hasn't been throwing the sinker at all. Changed slider for Carlos Rodon. Taking a quick look at usage. We're looking at a 60, 50, let's say 55% usage on the 4-seamer, and then the slider 32, let's say 36% of the time. The change being mixed in between 5 and 10%. He's using the slider a lot, and it's not a pitch he didn't use last year, but he used the sinker a decent amount, and it seems as though he's abandoned that a bit. And again, to Brooks Baseball here. But on the year, the Detroit Tigers, looking specifically at K percentage, looking for the upside, lead the league against lefties, 31.5%. Is that the end-all be-all? No. But again, this mid-tier is chock full of guys that I think are going to be pretty intriguing to understand a little bit better. Again, Paxton up top, Madison Bumgarner, and then Rodon, Fried, and Eichhoff are names that I'm going to keep top of mind as I'm doing some research on Friday. You do have Tyler Skaggs making his way back. I assume he's going to be on a pitch count of some sort. He was activated after dealing with an ankle injury. He had 14 Ks to 2 walks over 15 innings through his first 3 starts of the season. He completed a 40-pitch bullpen session Tuesday. had a pretty solid start to the year with a nice start against Texas, an okay start against the Chicago Cubs. I'm not seeing that he's going to be on a pitch count, but he's here against the Kansas City Royals, another lefty on the mound, and the Royals on the year, top 10 in K percentage against lefties. WOBA below 300, an ISO of 165. You have strikeouts in that lineup for sure. When you have guys like Jorge Soler, let's see, who do we have above 20% against lefties? So you have Soler at 48.4% in 31 plate appearances. Martin Maldonado at 30%. Alberto Mondesi at 28.9%. Ryan O'Hearn at 35.3%. That's just 17 plate appearances. Alex Gordon below Whit Merrifield. Billy Hamilton, but he doesn't put the ball in play. So again, I would throw Skaggs in the mix. I like Skaggs less than I like Eichhoff or Fried at the present. Any cheap options? You look at the Daniel Norris experience. This is a guy who has pitched fairly well on the year out of the bullpen. Did get a start against the same White Sox. Put up 5 innings pitched, 79 pitches. We'll see. He probably sticks in the rotation here. Had a bit of pedigree. Pretty sure he came over from the Toronto Blue Jays in a trade. Can't confirm that presently, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. Matchup here with the White Sox. Again, another team that has strikeouts in their lineup, but probably not the team I necessarily want to target when it comes to righty bats. Yeah, they're only at 23.4% K percentage against lefties. Again, these are all small sample sizes for 2019. We can take a look back, active roster to 2018 versus left-handed pitchers. And we get Moncada at 33.9%, but he's a different batter this year, so I take that number with a grain of salt. Yonder Alonso at 26.8%, Jose Abreu at 25.2%, Lori Garcia at 23.8%. So maybe the percentage is a little higher, but you do have some power at bats. Tim Anderson playing well above his head. I think Yoan Moncada is a different batter. Jose Abreu, so I'll probably stay away from Daniel Norris. And then if you want to take the risk on someone like a Justice Sheffield, haven't seen how much he's supposed to throw here, but he was starting for Tacoma. Kikuchi's going to be limited to 1 or 2 innings, so the rest will be Sheffield as far as he can go. He's the stone min on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, I might take the risk in a tournament if he's even in their roster pool. Is he not in their roster pool? Let's see. He's not in the roster pool, is he? Oh, come on, FanDuel. Maybe he'll appear, but I'm not seeing him in their player pool. Maybe I'm searching wrong here, but if I search Chef, or just even SHE, Steve Cishek, Jimmy Sherfy, Shelby Miller, Pat Neshek, and Gio Urshela. No Justice Sheffield. So don't have him over on FanDuel, but can see an opportunity there for pitching Justice Sheffield in a lineup on DK at least, especially if you want to pair him up with Paxton. Actually, 2 guys who are traded for each other. Don't think that's the worst idea. I did mention Shelby Miller. You may have heard his nickname as Shelby Miller in the past on a podcast Dave and I have hosted together. But looking at the other side, looking at where we might be able to find some upside, the Angels are in Kansas City facing Danny Duffy. Now, I loved Danny Duffy a couple of years ago. I thought he was going to be the next great lefty starter. Injuries, poor performance have all been a problem for him. Now, this is a Angels lineup that I don't necessarily think is fearful or should be feared necessarily as being potent in any way. But they don't strike out. 15.6% K percentage on the year. They have an ISO of 153. That's mid lane, but they have Mike Trout. And I want nothing to do with Duffy. So obviously Trout in a great spot. Shelby Miller is the one that I'm really going to hone in and target. These Seattle Mariners bats have just been so damn good on the year, leading the league in a ton of offensive categories. And it's a mixed bag. It's not just one or two guys getting it done. This is a team that has Mitch Haniger knocking the cover off the ball. Jay Bruce has had a great start to the year. 318 ISO against right-handed pitchers, 323 WOBA. Dan Vogelbach, 455 ISO, 493 WOBA against righties. Mitch Haniger is up over 250. Ryan Healy up over 250. You get Omar Narvaez and Tim Beckham over 200 in ISO against righties. So that even doesn't include Edwin Encarnacion and Domingo Santana. Now, Santana's had a pretty high strikeout percentage. You have strikeout percentage for Jay Bruce and Vogelbach over 20%. Bruce is over 30. But I love Seattle against Miller here. I'm not going to be alone on that island, nor do I pretend to be. But this is just a spot where I don't see how Miller gets out of that one. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath for him. This team, the Mariners should tee off on him. Let's take a look quickly at the score projection. Let's see if we can pull that up quickly. Mariners and Rangers, 8.5, Seattle minus 165. Rangers obviously have a good offense here. If you want to target Sheffield because he's a rookie in his first appearance, I have no problem with that. But I think that the Mariners clearly here are one of your top stacks and top plays on the day. I think thinking about the Baltimore Orioles against Martin Perez, pulling up Perez's numbers on the year. He's made 2 starts, has a 5.31 ERA, 4.88 xFIP, so that ERA is pretty much in line where you might expect. A pretty high BABIP, but he always has. He's a pitcher who is typically a little bit over 300 on his career. And again, you get into some mixed bag numbers when it comes to looking at career versus this season and trying to just isolate handedness or anything like that. But in his career against right-handers, he's given up a 352 WOBA against righties. He has given up one home run per 9 to righties, an xFIP of 4.82. Only gets 4.90 Ks per 9. Now, you'll hear Martin Perez described as somebody who doesn't give it all up. He's just somebody who gets it done and stays in and throws a lot of pitches. And again, Baltimore Orioles, not a team that's been great this year. I get it. But if you look through, there are enough bats here that I think that they could be on the upside swing as a potential play against this lefty, as a potential upside. You get, Trey Mancini's of the world. Hell, even Chris Davis. Maybe he's turning things around. We'll see if he's in the lineup or not. Who else are we targeting here? Senzatella in Atlanta. He's had some upside in his career, but isn't necessarily somebody I fear in SunTrust Park. And so much I will look for some lefty power bats, that including Freddie Freeman, obviously, in this matchup. Let's double check Senzatella's numbers. There's Antonio Senzatella. He's only started 2 games on the year, 1-1, 4.97 K per 9. That's not going to get it done. Career splits against left-handers. 334 WOBA, a xFIP of 4.17, K percentage of 18.8%. Nope, looking at the wrong one. 4.49 xFIP, K percentage of 16.4%. Gives up about a home run per 9 against both sides of the plate. So if you wanted to talk about Freddie Freeman or Markakis or even Acuna and the other pieces there for Atlanta, I think the power upside is clearly there. And then the Minnesota Twins against Alex Cobb. I know Cobb has some upside in the past, but he doesn't seem like he's quite right. Actually, last start was against these same Minnesota Twins, and so I would look for Kepler and go down the line here for Cobb. Kepler and Rosario and Nelson Cruz, Astudillo if you want to go that way, but I think Minnesota. So really for me, looking at this slate, it's going to be Paxton, Bumgarner. There's going to be a mix of Rodon, Fried, and Eichhoff. I'm sure I'm missing guys in here. So you have to understand that. And you want to tune into the MLB Strategy Show. You'll want to tune into the deeper dive. You'll want to read the deep dive. You want to subscribe to Awesemo.com. 50% off by using the promo code EARLYBIRD, one word, and gets you 50% off your first month. So you want to do that. But first look, Paxton, Bumgarner, Fried, Eichhoff, and Rodon, a little bit cheaper. I can understand if you want to take a crack at Justice Sheffield. And then if we're talking stacks, it's Mariners far and away number one. I might play some Baltimore Orioles. I might play some Atlanta Braves. And I think, looking through this again, some Philadelphia Phillies, obviously Harper and JT Realmuto, and that whole team has the power upside to make Jose Urena hurt a lot on this slate. There's one other team that just popped as I was scrolling through. Yeah, I lost them. They're gone. Urena. Oh, and the Angels. So Simmons and Trout, if you want to go a two-man stack, I'd be more than happy to go that way. So I think you have the upside. So that's going to do it for the DFS Early Bird. Hopefully that gives you some sort of sense of at least the starting point for pitching and maybe the stacks. I will always admit I am a bit of a chalk donkey. So the guys I'm talking about, the pitchers I'm looking at, probably going to be pretty highly owned. So cash games, maybe on a site like DraftKings, your SB1 plus a more tournament-centric SB2, and same for the stacks. I assume the Mariners are going to be very highly owned. Shelby Miller's terrible, so I'm not surprising anyone there. But last broadcast from, oh no, that's a lie. You'll get me and EMAC on Saturday, so you'll see me again here probably, and then the weekend I will move downstairs. Happy to do that. Happy to be with you. Happy to at least get this out to you and hope it helps. With that said, wish you the best of luck. Find me on Twitter at Dan Strafford. And of course, find Dave at Lofty_D, LOUGHY_D. Find Awesemo at Awesemo_com. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning with EMAC right here on the DFS Early Bird.